Hey, what's up? Welcome back everybody to the channel. Today I want to talk about something that should be a serious wake-up call to all immigrants in the US, especially you Filipinos out there that are green card holders, legal permanent residents who think, hey, I've been here for decades, I'm safe. Well, let me introduce you to Mrs. Dixon, a Filipino lady who's lived in the US as a legal permanent resident for 50 years. That's right, 5 decades. She raised a family, paid for her dues, worked hard, and contributed to her community. But despite all of that, she was detained by ICE after returning from a short trip to the Philippines. Now, I'm not here to stir up fear, but I am here to explain why this happened, what it means, and how it mirrors situations that I've seen here in the Philippines, especially with foreign visa holders. I'm going to break down the immigration laws that affect green card holders, how a decades-old mistake came back to haunt Miss Dixon, and I'll compare it here in the Philippines if a permanent resident visa holder breaks the law. But before we continue, if you are new here, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Like this video because it will really help me to reach my goals here on becoming a full-time YouTube content creator. Miss Lulin Dixon, who had a permanent resident status in the US for about 50 years, was detained in February after returning from a visit to the Philippines. ICE picked her up at the airport. Why, you might ask? Well, because decades ago, back in the year 2000, she had pleaded guilty to embezzlement. We're talking about a non-violent offense where she took around $6,400 while working at a Washington Mutual bank. She was sentenced to 30 days in a halfway house and ordered to pay restitution. You might be thinking, okay, but that was over 20 years ago. Sure, the system might see her as rehabilitated, right? Nope. The CBP flagged her at the airport, and that old conviction was still on her record. Even though she's been a model citizen, working in a healthcare, helping the community, and living a quiet life, she got locked up in ICE detention. And what she described about the conditions in there, absolutely horrific. Overcrowded, in and out like a revolving door. 9 people released, 7 new ones brought in. Imagine the mental stress of coming home from a family visit only to be locked up in a detention center like a criminal. Now let's talk about the law side of this, because this is where a lot of people, especially green card holders, are just unaware. A green card holder isn't a free pass. It's not a citizenship. You're a permanent resident, yes, but that residency is conditional on your behavior. Here's what can get a green card holder deported. Crimes of moral turpitude, and embezzlement falls directly under this. Drug offenses, domestic violence convictions, aggravated felonies, even if it's non-violent. Failure to notify immigration authorities of changes. Leaving the US for too long without permission. And yes, even old crimes that you serve time for can still trigger deportation if they show up during a border check or background review. And this is where Miss Lulin Dixon got caught. She likely didn't realize that by not becoming a citizen, she kept herself exposed. Her attorney said it was best she stayed a green card holder because she promised her father she'd remain a Filipino national so she can retain land back home. Well, that's common. A lot of Filipinos and dual nationals do that, but the cost was high for her. Let's bring this back to where I'm living, here in the Philippines. Let's say I'm a foreigner, which I am, and I have a 13A permanent resident visa or even an SRRV. You know what? I am also going to be on thin ice if I break the law here. If I commit a serious offense, whether it's drugs, theft, abuse, or even overstaying illegally, I can be deported, blacklisted, and even banned from ever entering the Philippines again, regardless if I have a family here or not. There are foreigners who lived here for years, got comfortable, got lazy with the rules, and boom, they were thrown out. No trial, no second chances. So while the Philippines is very welcoming and it's a beautiful place to live, they don't play around when it comes to the law either, especially if it embarrasses the country or causes public disruption. A British guy that I know here was an expat living. He had overstayed his visa for more than a year. He thought it would be no big deal. Immigration detained him, held him, and deported him with a blacklist stamp. Gone. So how could you protect yourself? I've done extensive research on this situation, and here's what you need to understand if you're a green card holder in the US or a foreigner living long-term in the Philippines. Never assume that time gives you immunity. Lulin Dixon lived in the US for 50 years, and that still didn't protect her. Understand the law that governs your stay. US law is harsh if you're not a citizen. Even a tiny mistake can have lasting consequences. Clear your record and apply for citizenship if you're eligible. Citizenship shields you more. Deportation becomes almost impossible. Keep travel clean and intentional. If you've got a record, talk to a lawyer before leaving the country. In the Philippines, keep your paperwork straight. Renew your ACR card, file your reports every year, don't play around with visa deadlines. And honestly, just stay out of trouble. Whether you're in Seattle or Cebu, your foreign status makes you vulnerable. So what does this all mean for our community? This case says something bigger about how immigration works, despite what people assume. There's a myth that once you make it in, you're safe, that the system's done with you. That's not true at all. Immigration is always conditional, even 50 years in. The reality is, immigration systems in many countries, including the US and Philippines, are designed to protect their own first. If you mess up even once, you become a liability. And that's how they'll treat you, no matter how long you've lived here, how many taxes you've paid, or how many lives you've helped. And we should be careful not to become too comfortable, because that's when mistakes happen. A tiny oversight or conviction, and suddenly your whole life is at risk. So with that, if you're living abroad or hoping to, you need to do these 3 things. Understand the rules in the country you're in. Respect the laws, even if they seem small. Don't rely on time or sympathy to protect you. Whether it's in the US or the Philippines, being a guest, even a long-term one, means you can still be asked to leave. Miss Lulin's story is sad, of course. It's unfair in many ways, but it's also a cautionary tale. It's a reminder that the smartest things that we can do as a foreigner is to stay sharp, stay legal, and if you can, go all the way and secure your status. If you found this video to be helpful, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more real talk on expat life in the Philippines, and let me know in the comments what's your immigration story, or have you ever faced something similar? Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you on the next one, guys.
Know you used to love me. I know you got some